Hello. In a few weeks, we Jews will celebrate Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, one of the three biblical pilgrimage festivals. It commemorates the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. That's why it's called Zeman Matan Toratenu, the season of the giving of our Torah. Our tradition states that the Torah contains 613 commandments for Jews. They are known as the Tariag because the letters of Tariag, Tav, Resh, Yod, and Gimel add up to 613. Tav is 400, Resh is 200, Yod is 10, and Gimel is 3. The 613 are divided into 248 positive commandments, that is, do this, and 365 negative commandments, that is, don't do that. Note in passing that a positive commandment is more restrictive than a negative commandment. Where do all these numbers come from? They are not in the Torah itself. The first reference to them is in the Talmud. Quote, Rabbi Simlai, when preaching, said 613 precepts were communicated to Moses, 365 negative precepts corresponding to the number of solar days in the year, and 248 positive precepts corresponding to the number of members in a man's body, joints or bones covered with flesh and sinews, excluding teeth. Rabbi Hamnuna said, what is the proof text for this? It is the following verse in the Torah. Quote, Torah tzivalanu Moshe, morasha kehilat Yaakov. Moses commanded us a Torah, an inheritance of the congregation of Jacob. Unquote. The letter value of the word Torah is 611, Tav is 400, Vav is 6, Resh is 200, and He is 5, and they add up to 611. The first two of the Ten Commandments, I am the Lord your God, and you shall have no other gods, are not counted here because we heard them directly from the mouth of God and not from Moses. Unquote. You would think that after such a statement, the Talmud would provide a list of these 613 commandments. But it does not, leaving it to later rabbis to figure out what they are. These lists generally agree on most commandments, but disagree on whether some commandments are independent or parts of other commandments. For example, Rashi says that when God speaks to Moses about the tabernacle, he says, quote, and the fire upon the altar shall be burning, it shall not be put out, unquote. And immediately in the next verse, God clarifies, the fire upon the altar shall always be burning, it shall not be put out, unquote. Rashi concludes that since it shall not be put out is stated twice in a row, if you extinguish the fire, you transgress two negative commandments, and not just one. But Maimonides disagrees, saying that there is a positive commandment to keep the fire burning, and a negative commandment not to extinguish it. Maimonides wrote the Book of Commandments, or Sefer HaMitzvot, in Arabic, Ketab el-Faraid, where he lists the 613 and comments on each one of them. His list is the one most often used today. He developed 14 principles to guide him in what commandments to include. These are: exclude the 7 rabbinic commandments, which were later added to the list: washing hands before eating breads, building an eruv, saying a blessing before eating, lighting Shabbat candles, reading the Megillah scroll on Purim, lighting Hanukkah candles, and reciting the Hallel on major occasions. 2. Exclude commandments derived from Rabbi Ishmael's 13 principles of hermeneutics, which derive commandments from other commandments. For example, revere Torah scholars. 3. Exclude commandments that are not permanent. For example, prior to the exodus from Egypt, the Israelites were told, put blood on the doors of your houses, so the angel of death passes over them. 4. Exclude commandments that encompass the entire Torah, such as observe all my laws, commandments, and decrees, statutes, and ordinances. 5. Do not consider the reason for a commandment as a separate commandment. For example, do not do this and do not bring guilt upon the land. Count a commandment with both positive and negative components as 2. For example, rest on Shabbats and do no work on Shabbats. 7. Exclude the details of a commandment. For example, bring an animal sin offering if you can afford it. If not, bring 2 birds, and if not, bring a flour offering. 8. The negation of an obligation is not a prohibition. 9. An instruction repeated many times counts only once. For example, do not eat blood is repeated 7 times in the Torah, but counts only as one commandment. 10. Exclude the preparations for a commandment. 11. Do not count the parts of a commandment separately. For example, the 4 species required for Sukkot, Lulav, Etrog, Arava, and Hadass are only one commandment. 12. Do not count separately the activities required to fulfill a commandment. 13. Count only once a commandment performed over many days. And finally, 14. Count each form of punishment only once, regardless of the context. Now, can the commandments be summarized? Not really, because they are not ranked by importance. The Mishnah says, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi said, be as scrupulous in observing a minor commandment as a major commandment, because you do not know the value of each commandment. Unquote. However, the Talmud tries to capture the ethical essence as follows. Quote, King David came and reduced the 613 commandments to 11 principles, as it is written in the 15th Psalm. Quote, a Psalm of David, Lord, who shall abide in your tent? Who shall dwell in your holy mountain? He who walks uprightly and does what is right, and speaks the truth in his heart, who does not slander with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor takes up a reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is despised, but he honors those who fear the Lord, he who swears to his own hurt and does not change, he who does not put out his money at interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent, he who does these things shall never be moved. The prophet Isaiah came and reduced them to 6 principles, as it is written, he who walks righteously and speaks uprightly, he who despises the gain of oppression, he who shakes his hands from holding bribes, he who stops his ears from hearing about spilling blood, and shuts his eyes from contemplating evil, he shall dwell on high. The prophet Micah came and reduced them to 3 principles, as it is written, it has been told you, O man, what is good and what the Lord requires of you, only to do justice and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your gods. Again came the prophet Isaiah and reduced them to 2 principles, as it is said, thus says the Lord, keep justice and do righteousness. The prophet Amos came and reduced them to 1 principle, as it says, for thus says the Lord to the house of Israel, seek me and you shall live. But it is the prophet Habakkuk who came and based them all on 1 principle, as it is said, but the righteous shall live by his faith. Unquote. Some people believe the 10 commandments are the most important ones. That is not so. As mentioned above, there is no ranking of mitzvot. Here's what the Midrash says about the location of the 10 commandments in the Torah. Quote, why were the 10 commandments not said at the beginning of the Torah? The rabbis gave a parable. To what may this be compared? To the following. A king who entered a province and said to the people, may I be your king? But the people said to him, have you done anything good to us that you should rule over us? What did he do then? He built the city walls for them. He brought in a water supply for them. He fought their battles. Then when he said to them, may I be your king? They said, yes. Likewise, God. He brought the Israelites out of Egypt, divided the sea for them, sent down the manna for them, brought up the well for them, brought the quails for them, fought the battles with Amalek for them. Then he said to them, am I to be your king? And they said to him, yes, yes. In other words, do something for me first before issuing commandments. Now, of these 613 commandments, how many can be acted upon today? It turns out only 244, or 40%, can be followed by all Jews today, because 202 commandments required the temple in Jerusalem to be standing, and the temple was destroyed by the Romans 2,000 years ago. 42 commandments pertain to slaves, kings, Nazirites, who no longer exist today. 99 commandments apply only to certain people. For example, build a parapet around the roof of your house so people won't fall off. Applies only to homeowners. And pay the laborer right after he completes his work applies only to employers. 26 commandments apply only in the land of Israel. So, for most Jews, only 40% of the commandments can be acted upon today. So, enjoy your discounts, but do what you have to do. Hag Shavuot Sameach.